Welcome, everybody. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're located. So today you're going to witness real high-end intense racing using an NVIDIA-powered machine in Azure. But before we go to the racing, let's first introduce myself. My name is Ryan Ververs-Bijkerk. I'm a technical evangelist working at Warworks, where we're working on Mission 1. And Mission 1 is focusing on making work more efficient using modern technologies, including the Citrix portfolio, but also a lot of automation in AI. I'm involved in various communities, as you can see on the screen, and you can reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn, whatever you like. And of course, if you Twitter something, make sure to include the TeamRGE hashtag. So it's important to mention this research has taken place on the GoEUC platform. So for those who don't know what GoEUC is, GoEUC is an independent research platform focusing on performance-related topic, on anything EUC related. And there's a famous quote of Neil Armstrong stating, "Research is creating new knowledge." And we really believe in doing research is creating new knowledge which we can use to share with the community. It's helping us also in the day-to-day job to help customers, but also helping the community. So on the GoEUC platform, we embedded this in our mission. So the mission of GoEUC is to facilitate the individual with these research capabilities, but also the methodologies. In the end, for exploring new technologies, which can be used to inspire also the community and providing new knowledge. So a little bit of background information. GoEUC has started back in 2018, but since April this year, we did a large transformation where we transformed towards a non-profit foundation. This really means that we are fully independent and unbiased, and it is managed by the community for the community. So there's no vendors involved in terms of contribution. Everybody that is involved on the platform is based on a personal title. So at this point, we have 11 active members that are contributing to the platform, doing a lot of researches. Now, in order to run this kind of platform, it's important to have some sponsors because it's taking a lot of resources and money, of course. So we're proud to announce that LoadGen is currently our active sponsor. LoadGen is a software solution that does simulation testing. And ICT Partners, there's also an active sponsor to the platform. So without these sponsors, we're not able to at least produce these kinds of awesome results. Now, everything that we do is shared on our website. It's open, free, easy to read. You don't need any registration. It's just there to consume. So let's go to the agenda. I got a couple of topics. And first, I want to tell about cloud gaming. Then I want to explain a little bit about the system configuration, some details. Of course, we're going to race, so I need to explain something about the car setup and also the game setup. And afterwards, we're going to debrief the race results. But first, start with the cloud gaming. So in the last couple of years, you see a big trend with large vendors that are moving cloud workloads or gaming workloads towards the cloud. On the first logo on the left side, you have Google Stadia. In the middle, you got from Microsoft, it's called Project X Cloud. And also NVIDIA is providing gaming services. So these are all services that providing gaming from any device, anywhere, at any time, where you can just stream your games and high intense games to your device. There's one thing that these kinds of platforms all have in common, and that's the latency and the round trip time. When moving a workload, like gaming, towards the cloud, you will introduce latency. And all these kinds of platforms also have the latency when you play these kinds of games. Now, quick recap on what is latency and what is routing time. So the latency is the time that it takes for sending a package towards the host. And the routing time is the same, including also the time that it needs to travel back. So when you look at, for instance, the data center locations of Azure, you have the ability to select multiple locations. As you can see here on the red Google icon, that's where I'm located. I'm located in the Netherlands. And when I select a data center that's near me, which in this case is the West Europe location, you see I have a latency of 37 milliseconds. But when I move the workload or towards a data center, for instance, in Australia, you will see that the time it takes towards sending my packages over there, it takes longer. It introduced latency. In this case, it's 276 milliseconds. All this kind of latency involves or also results in the user experience. And this is something that these big platforms also have. So in general, moving these kinds of workloads, it would introduce the input delay caused by the latency and the round trip time. And its effect, it cannot be resolved. Even when you introduce or move the workloads towards a data center sitting next to it, you're virtualizing it, it still needs to travel over the network, it still involves latency. So let's continue to the system configuration. So the goal of the research is to show the effect of the latency and the round trip time in a high graphic scenario. And in this case, we're going to do it on a racing style. Now, with the COVID-19 situation, you see a lot of big names going to virtual sim racing, including myself. So I've decided to use Assetto Corsa Competizione for this scenario. So shown on the right side, I have my home setup. So I have an internet connection with 250 Mbit download time and 225 Mbit up. And you can see here I have a gaming system using a Trustmaster wheel. It's important to mention that I have a dedicated machine for capturing the output. So when racing, the performance or the resources required to capture all the video output is not influenced or done on the machine itself. Now, in case of the remote session, I've decided to use Azure in this case, in combination with Citrix Cloud. So within Azure, I'm using a single machine in combination with a cloud connector to ensure I can connect towards the platform. And just to make it easy, I use the GoUC platform for my identity using a site-to-site VPN connection. Now here are some details about the machine configuration I've used. So within Azure, I have used the NV6 Promo Edition. The reason I'm using Promo because I'm Dutch, it's cheaper. So it costs me less credits that I have within my Azure subscription. Now the NV6 machine is allocated with 6 vCPUs and 56 gigabytes of memory. It contains an Xeon E5 2690, which is running on 2.6 gigahertz at the base clock speed, which is okay for the game requirements. Now I've decided to, or at least the NV6 machines can only be provided with the standard SSD, and they have an M60 GPU to it. Now on the right side, you can see my game PC. It's actually the PC that's sitting next to me. It's AMD Ryzen 5 machine. It's also got an SSD, in this case an NVMe SSD, and I got an AMD Radeon graphics cards in there. Now in both cases, I have the Windows 10 1909 Pro Edition, But in the remote machine, I used at least the Citrix optimizer template to ensure the machine is optimized. In terms of the Citrix VDA, I used the 1912 and for the workspace app for also the connection, of course, the 2003 workspace app version. Now, in terms of graphics policy, in this case, I have configured the target frame rate on 60 FPS using for activation regions with a built lossless configuration, where it's optimized for graphics. Now let's go to some details about the car itself and the game setup. So for this race, I have used the also nice Mercedes AMG. I really would love one. It's a really sweet car. And to go into some little details, I have used an aggressive setup. So within the game, I said, of course, it's really a racing simulator. You have the ability to tweak every details within the car itself. In this case, I've used the template from Assetto Corsa itself. It's an aggressive setup. That means that the traction control is on the low side. I'm using the hot laps simulation. So this means that the fuel consumption is disabled. And the tires are configured with dry tires, and the tire wear itself is disabled. Now, in terms of assists, I'm using a manual gearbox, so I have to shift on the pedals myself. I'm using an automatic clutch because I don't have a clutch on the set. In this case, also the engine starts automatically because I didn't configure the button for it. Stability control is off, so that means that when the car is going to slide, I have to correct it myself. And I don't need a ideal line. It's hidden. It's only annoying for me. In both scenarios, I've configured the graphics settings towards high. So it's a fixed setting between both scenarios. Now, of course, I've selected the legendary circuit called Zandvoort. Unfortunately, Formula One is not going to race it this year. It's going to be next year. But as mentioned, I'm using the hot lap simulation, which has a fixed time on 4 p.m. It's nice weather over there right now. And in this case, we're going to compare the PC versus the Citrix session. In this case, I'm configured 11 laps, or I've driven 11 laps, and I'm going to compare the fastest laps between both sessions. Now, to get the best experience, I have included a QR code, so you can scan it, and you will end up on a YouTube playlist that also have the both recordings. I'm going to show 2 recordings. The QR code is over there. I'm not sure if I can also share the audio. Let me see if it's possible. Do you know that, Gabe, if I can share the audio?
Yeah, you can share it. It's Ruben here. You can share, if you click share screen, then you can select system audio or computer audio.
Oh, okay, I have to share it again. Okay,
yep.
Share the...
There's like a sort of checkbox you can select.
Yeah, I see it right here. Share computer sound. There we go. Okay, so let's go to the racing itself. Hopefully it's not too loud. So what you can see here...
Yes, sound comes through. It works.
Perfect, perfect. So on the left side, you see my game PC. And on the right side, you see the Citrix session itself. So you see also the steering that I'm actually doing with a wheel. And on the left top, within the racing, you see the time, the current time of the lap. So there's a little indicator to the right. On the left side, currently it's red, and on the right side is green, and that's the delta. It's important to mention that in both scenarios, the times are not shared between it. It's of that specific session. I'm driving on the right side and currently in positive delta, which means it's going to be a fast lap. So what you're seeing over here, that the experience itself between or at least on the Citrix session, it's quite good. It's going not that smooth compared to the left side, but it's a remoting protocol, so I have everything sent over towards the endpoint. But you can already see here, there's a difference in time between both sessions. On the left side, you see that I'm already up front compared to the right side. Now, in terms of experience, I have to say it was quite difficult. I needed some adjusting time to get used towards the latency, because when you turn in, it takes a little bit of a delay before it's gonna respond. But also in terms of feedback, it's a force feedback steering wheel. So will you feel the feedback coming a little bit too late? So these are the laps of both sessions. Oh. Now I have to say it didn't go smoothly the entire time. There was just a single lap. I did 11. As you can see here, I was struggling with keeping the car on the tarmac. And this was also a clear example that I didn't have the correct feeling within the wheel in the Citroën session to adjust on time. And this was just a rookie mistake where I just braked a little bit too late, just like Jos Verstappen. So let's go to the racing debrief. So when you compare the times, and in this case, it's just the fastest lap. On the left side, you have my lap time of the game PC, so just a local session, and on the right side, the remote session. And you can see here, it's almost a difference of 2 seconds between both sessions, which is, in racing terms, it's quite a lot. Now, when we go towards the details, we got a lot of data. Now, on the left side, you have the game PC again, on the right side, the Citroën session, and you see a red line. So the red line, what I've done is I removed the slowest time of the session. So I didn't include that also in the potential and in the averages. So in the it's divided in various sectors. So a circuit is divided always in sectors. And here you can see the sector times. And in purple, this is the fastest times of the sectors. Now in racing terms, you never have a perfect lap. As you can also see here clearly, the fastest round, which is represented in the green value, they didn't have all the fastest sectors. But if you count all the fastest sectors, you have the potential fastest time. So on the left side, I have a 1 minute, 37.359. But in the Citroën session, I have a 1 minute, 38.961. So besides the potential is faster, you still see that there is a delay between the game PC, so the local, and the remote session of a little bit more than 1.5 seconds. Another thing that's worth to mention is that the deltas between the lap times are on the left side, so on the game PC, way more consistent compared to the right side. So I really was struggling within a remote session to make consistent runs compared to the local session. So in conclusion, it's of course depending on the workload, but the latency and the runtime time will have effect on the experience. In this case, in my case, it's also having an effect on the racing results. But you also have to imagine that when you're moving a high graphics workload, we always validate with the car visualizer or other animations, but we don't really interact with the session to really validate how the experience is. And this was for me at least an eye-opener when comparing towards these kinds of results. Now, of course, there are some potential optimizations. If possible, it's always recommended to at least use Citrix EDT as the UDP protocol is faster and has less overhead. But there's a disclaimer over there, as the Citrix Cloud Gateway Services does not support that. Another thing is to make sure when you select the data center location, choose the closest one possible towards the end user. This will reduce the latency and the runtime time, and therefore also have a better experience. Another potential solution is using one optimizations, like SD1, to make sure that the bandwidth is used optimal. But like I always say, without data, you're just another person with an opinion. Make sure you validate it yourself, or even with your end user, to make sure that the experience is good and you have the data at least to prove it. I think it's still in 20 minutes. Thank you guys. I hope it was useful, and see you for the next time.